Hello, this is Mad Cat, the Angry Egalitarian. Um, you'll have to turn up your your head. You'll have to turn up your. Sorry, it's early in the morning. Your sound system, because I need to whisper. It's like 5 in the morning right now, and I actually got done listening to Sargon's live stream. Well, I guess it wasn't technically live, but he was doing a stream, and well, I listened to the whole thing. It's about 3 hours long, and it was actually poorly done, in my opinion. I think Sargon could have handled it a lot better. Now, I have nothing against Sargon. I think he's a great guy. I think he has a lot to offer. I enjoy his channel. And funny enough, I was playing on his Ark server while listening to it. So, on that token, though, even though I respect him so much, I think I still have an obligation to give him a criticism when I think he deserves one. Now, the video, if you want to watch it, you can go ahead, but if you want to save 3 hours, I'll just quickly sum it up for you. Sargon has started a petition on change.org. I normally don't like change.org because once you sign up, then you're going to get emails about all the other petitions to sign, and I really don't care. That might sound callous of me, but I got enough going on in my life that I can't worry about every other thing because I myself am a charity case. And I've got to try to raise awareness of my situation. But every now and then I see something that I think is worth fighting for, and I think that Sargon's is a very good one. What Sargon wants is to suspend all social justice warrior curriculum in universities, and this includes gender studies. Now, this is getting some flack because he's being accused of promoting censorship. And if you look at it in the context of, well, he just wants to remove these things and prevent anyone from hearing about it, then yeah, it is a censorship issue, but that's not what he wants. What he is wanting is he wants these courses to be suspended until they can be fully analyzed and to be redesigned, to be revamped, to teach correct information. Now, the point that he really strives in the video is that it is not censorship to get rid of information that is wrong, demonstrably wrong, but being presented as truth. Now, throughout the video, they kept trying to give examples, trying to give hypotheticals to try to explain their position. And Holy Bumblebee and I guess her husband were having difficulty with these. I guess they weren't really understanding the hypotheticals. I think they thought they understood, but they weren't really understanding. It's like if you take a physics course and on the syllabus it says you're going to be learning about gravity, on such a date. And when you start to learn about gravity, the instructor tells you that gravity exists because the Earth is flat. Now, if you didn't know that the Earth was round or flat, or you might be susceptible to believe this is truth because it's being presented to you as truth. Well, removing that individual and this type of teaching would not be a form of censorship because it is teaching inaccurate information, ignorant information, in my opinion. And what Sargon is wanting to do is say, okay, teaching this 1 in 5 women will be raped within their lifetimes or will be raped on a college campus. That doesn't correspond to the facts as we know them. And yet this is being presented as truth, and we need to take that out, as we need to remove that from a classroom. Now, well, we need to remove it from the classroom as being taught as the truth. Now, Sargon is not saying we have to remove it from the curriculum altogether. No, we can teach it as far as a historical context. We can teach it as, well, this is what people believe. This is what some people believe. Here's the actual evidence. Here's an alternate viewpoint that people have. And then you can even create debates. He's all for that. You can still teach it so long as you're not teaching it as the truth, because we've been able to demonstrate that it's not the truth. So here's my criticism of Sargon. Now, Holy Bumblebee and her husband, I'm not really in support of them, but they would try to make points often enough. They kept trying to make a point about this or that. And to be fair, they're trying to go in a roundabout way of getting there. I know, because I do that. I don't always get to my points right away. I try to provide a full context of what my issue is before I get to the point. Something I am trying to work on. I believe that's what they were doing. They weren't able to get directly to their point because they were trying to provide context to what they were or what they were interpreting. Now, a common thing that happens when I'm in discussions with other people or even in arguments with other people is they hear something they disagree with, and rather giving me the ability to make the point that I need to make, they instead address the one thing I said that they disagree with and make a big case about that. And then I have to tell them, you're not listening to me. You're not letting me finish. You need to let me finish. Because more often than not, because they're not letting me get to that point, they're actually making arguments that don't represent what I'm trying to go for. This is a failing of humans, of both instances, whether it takes a long time to get to the point or just attacking something you immediately don't agree with and believing this is what a person believes. Those are two human failings, and that is something we saw in that video. Sargon has a lot of difficulty in giving people the ability to make their point. He needs to learn to step back a little bit and try to allow people to basically say what they need to say, let them get it all out. Now, I would also challenge Holy Bumblebee and her husband to try to get to the point faster, but I kind of really put more onto Sargon that he needs to really let people, even if he disagrees, even if he thinks that they're misrepresenting a point that he has made, he needs to step back a little bit and let them go and let them get to the point that they're trying to make, because he kept interrupting. He kept saying, stop, shut up, let me speak. And this grew frustration for the other two. And you could hear the frustration in their voice, especially her husband. Now, he sounded like yelling to me, in all honesty. And I really dislike when people say, oh, well, that's just how they are. And it's like, I hate it because, whenever I try to explain to people how I am, they don't give me any clearance. And yet I'm supposed to give other people clearance because that's just how they are. If I'm expected to give other people clearance, then I need people to give me clearance instead of me trying to model myself after their expectation. But that's neither here nor there. But, you need to work on your way of speaking if your way of speaking sounds like you're yelling at the top of your lungs and drilling down into someone. And I think that that representation really affected the conversation. There's a lot of blame to go around. There's not just one person that's at fault here. Looking at some of the stream there's some chat right now. Celtic Rune Singer is saying, yeah, he had a hard time following his advice. NC Clark agreed that stream was absolutely awful. He said he wanted a dialogue, but honestly, the petition was poorly written and presumed too much. Yeah, I think so. But what I think Holy Bumblebee and her husband were trying to say, okay? And not that I agree, but what they were trying to say, because Sargon said that he wanted the use of hard facts. He wanted scientific data to be given in a gender studies course. The point that her husband was trying to make was that, you have math and you have science, and these are required to teach hard science, hard facts. But courses like English or even art is not required to teach hard science. Hard science has no placement in these classrooms. So you cannot hold an English teacher to the same standard as a physics professor. And that is true. However, you do need to hold both of them to the standard of teaching what is true, what is accurate. Now, what Sargon was trying to say is not that so much they had to teach hard science, but they had to teach empirical science. They had to teach what was provable, what's been demonstrated. And that's what needs to be done in a gender studies class, because it is a social science. They are trying to say that what they're teaching is science. Me personally, I don't think gender studies should be taught at all in a university. It shouldn't even be taught in a community college. Gender studies should be something that's taught in, say, a learning annex, in all honesty. However, that's not my decision to make. And you can criticize me that I'm wanting censorship. But I feel that gender studies is not about learning about gender. It's about teaching how to be an activist. And that has no place in a university. I'll respond to your comment in just a moment, NC Clark, but I do see it. But what Sargon in his stream is proposing, and I haven't really read what the petition said. I know he has since updated. I just learned about it this morning. But what he says he wants is he just wants the course curriculum for all social justice warrior classes, which includes gender studies, to be put on hold, to be suspended, to go through there with a fine-tooth comb and replace the erroneous data and put in the correct data to be taught as truth, and then be taught, that allows social justice courses to be taught. Now, he also was making the point about social justice curriculum and whatnot. And, he tried to show an example of it, which was titled social service or whatever. And what he's referring to in that, I believe, is classes that, even though they might be titled something else, still follow the social justice mindset, which a lot of college courses have. And there are actually a lot of them that shouldn't have anything to do with social justice that still do, such as a physics or any STEM field or even English. English should have nothing to do with social justice, and yet it does. It is being taught in these classes. So I do agree with him on that principle, that it should be suspended, it should be reorganized, and we should get the correct information in there. I also think that maybe he's a bit of a bad writer. I think he's a bad presenter, and he kind of expects everyone to be on his wavelength, and it makes perfect sense to him. Me, I feel like I have to have a Sargon of Akkad decoder ring to really understand him. I mean, I kind of had to just listen to him over and over again to finally understand what he was saying. Because at first I thought he was going on about how he just wanted to do away with these courses, which I agree with. We should do away with these courses. If you've been listening to the Flamingo Files, Janice Flamingo has been going in that why they should be no longer taught at universities. Now, let me reply to NC Clark. She was saying, I think the petition was clickbait, pure and simple. If Sargon would have defined social justice and explained why it is immoral and untrue, then I would have signed the petition. He did not do that. Celtic Rune Singer, also he's going to implement this anti-political ecosystem and maintain it. I really don't know what an anti-political ecosystem is. I don't understand the context of that. Maybe because it's 5:30 in the morning and I haven't been to sleep yet. I don't agree with everything Sargon says. I don't agree with some of his approaches, but I still listen to him and I still highly respect him. I think, though, that he missed an opportunity to find out what the opposition was thinking, what point they were trying to get to, and if he would have stepped back a little bit and tried to listen, then he might have been able to have a more fruitful conversation on the topic. And Holy Bumblebee and her husband were right. They were interrupting him. Now, there is a part where her husband said that truth does not matter. He would rather the KKK teach that black people are awful people. He would allow them to have that. I think personally he was just frustrated with Sargon. I don't think he actually thinks that based on other things he said during his transmission, during the live stream. I don't think that that's what he actually feels. He was just frustrated. He had finally had enough. As he was saying, he was triggered. I don't like him using that word because it's not what he thinks it means. I'm always offended when someone misuses the word trigger. And again, I'm offended when people misuse the word theory. So, but I think he was just frustrated and he finally had enough. And it's like, fine, I'll just say the worst thing I possibly can. There's a lot of blame to go around in that conversation, but I think Sargon is primarily responsible for how bad of a stream that was. And Sargon, if you want to disagree with me, feel free. We can have an entire conversation on it. But ultimately, I do agree with Sargon. These classes, this way universities are doing things need to be suspended, and we need to revamp the system so truth is taught and not emotion. That we shouldn't be teaching that emotion can trump truth and that the truth can be dynamic. The truth is always static. So I think that's going to do it for me today. Once again, I'm sorry that I'm being very quiet. My roommate's asleep next door, and I've got to try to stay silent because unfortunately my voice does carry when I normally speak. I should be having a show on Monday with Modern Medusa. Once again, we had a great show. We just decided to do another one. But if you get a chance, check out the stream. But in all honesty, it is really long, and it was a train wreck. In all honesty, I'm amazed I sat through the whole thing. Usually, I don't listen to anything that's longer than an hour. So check it out if you want to. I'll try to provide a link down below. And this is Mad Cat signing out. Of course, I should have done that when I had the video thing up.